Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Quick intro here. I'm starting a new series called The Journey to Sobriety, and Frank Medina is the guest for today's episode. And I know Frank through my church, Humanity Church, and our Celebrate Life Recovery group. This February marks 2 years of sobriety for him. So I'm so proud of him. I'm so honored to be in his life and to be a part of his journey to sobriety. And I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with my friend Frank Medina.
Maybe start with that. Like what was it like growing up? What was your family dynamic like? And yeah.
It was pretty interesting. First of all, you guys, hey, what's up? It's Frank Medina,
Yeah.
friend of Jared's, and I get to do life with him now.
Yeah.
Um, at this day and age, but growing up I feel like my childhood was chaotic in a way. For the first 10 years, my dad was there, but he
Okay.
wasn't really present. From what I hear from like my mom, like is that he was an abuser. He was also a drug addict, and
Okay.
he would like sleep around. So after a while, I guess at the age of 10 or within those 10 years, um, that's when they separated.
Okay.
Um, but I do have two sisters, and I am the middle child. So it does say a lot about like who I am, just
Right.
like growing up about needing it, like wanting attention or striving for attention. Because again, and I was also surrounded by nothing but females. My grandmother, my mom, and my aunt, and then my sisters were like the dominant, well, not characters, but persons that are in my household growing up.
Okay.
And so, when I say chaotic or abusive, I really feel like um, my experience growing up was very verbally abusive.
Okay.
Um, you know, um, at the age of 7, I discovered that I was a little different from any regular boy,
Okay.
and now that I like look back or even ask my childhood friends, like, hey, was I the same? Like when like
Right.
my friend Julie, she's like, no, Frank, you were always like this, like because of course, like, um, I'll just come straight up, like, I'm gay, and
Yeah.
so like, people are like, oh no, it's like for me, like I've always remembered to be this way, but then again, it's like I had some dominant like woman presence in my life, so you always question your femininity, if anything, but
Right. So
um,
7 was when you like actually
really,
I've never asked you this, like, oh, when did you, because some people say, well, I just have always been gay, like since I was a kid, right? But I
yeah,
don't, everybody's story is different. Some people it's like,
yeah. I've always like. I guess that's when I kind of finally knew that I was different or unique
right.
because again, like I've always been a charismatic, loud, fun like character. You
Right.
know, um,
Yeah.
Spirit has always been very just that and flamboyant. So,
Right. Right.
but so at the age 10 when my dad did leave, I kind of started like wondering eventually, like, was I the cause of that? But
Okay.
because so you start thinking that as young guy, and of course at that age, I kind of I kind of felt that abandonment, and I mean I went through some counseling and transformational training. You kind of then as an adult discover, oh wow, yeah, I guess I did have some abandonment issues with guys, and I probably sought out other relationships, that way. But I didn't start acting out like in my sexuality or whatever you want to say until like my mid 20s because of my church upbringing and because it was so I guess not okay. And like in
Mhm.
the 90s, it wasn't just the thing to do. And of course, I was trying to suppress and try to make other people happy. But as far
Mhm.
as my addictive behaviors or like my drug abuse or anything like that, the meth didn't start until about the age 33. But
Okay. Okay.
I did have my I guess my first love, and I'll say that like that was cocaine because of just the being in the gay lifestyle and partying and being in the club scene and being around promoters, and that's kind of what I had did in my
Okay.
20s. Like that's when I started doing coke. So it was, but they it really doesn't take like a major effect. But I found myself doing it more and more and more and more until then I moved to Texas, and then I was pretty much like out of like I chose to move to Texas so that I can kind of figure out who I really was, like outside of the church, outside my family pressure and all this stuff, and I had extended family out there. So I would basically be pretty much, I was pretty much on my own. Well, I met a neighbor. She was 62 years old, and she literally lived directly across from me. And I became her friend, and sure enough, she was a meth addict. And I had invited her out.
This is in Texas, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
her name was Debbie, and
Debbie.
we
Okay.
went. I invited her to the gay bar, and and at that time I had cocaine, and I was just like, listen, did you want to? She's like, oh yeah. So then, sure enough, like in her house, she had basically showed me her crack pipe and whatever else, or her dope, and she's like, have you ever tried this? I'm like, no, and I don't want to. My
Right.
biggest fear, Jared, that back then was that I would ruin my teeth. I always had that in my mind.
Oh, right, because meth, they lose their
Like
teeth.
you start jittering your teeth or whatever. So, but of course, then I was pressured or talked into it. Like, oh no, you'll be fine. I remember it was in July of 2010 is when I finally said yes. And yeah, the minute that I took my first hit, like it isn't like an instant I felt like instantly addicted. Like it was just like, wow. So
Hmm.
so it
What,
was on and off.
well, oh, sorry. I was just gonna pause for a second.
Yeah, that was a lot.
No, it's okay. No, I appreciate it. I love it. And I've heard some of this stuff before, but
Yeah,
I like that you're, kind of going in order.
more
But like,
details.
what's the difference? Because I don't think, I'm sure people listening, have this experience, or their kids going through it, or but then some people don't. But like, what's the difference between like cocaine and meth, like as far as like how you feel? I'm just curious about that kind of part of it. I'm like, which one is one better? Is it like meth lasts
Well,
longer?
well, yeah, I feel like I always compared it like Coke was the candy, and then like meth was like the energy times 10. Like
Okay,
in a
okay,
way. So like, but then like realistically, like Coke was like the chill drug. Like so, say like what I guess people would compare weed to, like in there in that way. But
right.
like it really was. It was just to like take off the edge. But like meth, like to me, was the crazy drug. It definitely just started, as it went on, like it definitely makes you paranoid. Like it just takes you to a totally different level.
Okay.
Um, but for me, because of my personality, what it would do normally would like chill me out, like in a way. Of course, I was still like on a high, but it would kind of bring me level headed to where like I was more creative when I was high. This took a lot of crazy things,
Hmm.
but throughout the years, of course, then it started taking toll on my mental health. Like I really
Hmm.
felt like the last couple years of it, like in 2019, 2020, um, like I really was losing my mind. Like I was
Hmm.
like talking in my sleep and having crazy dreams and sending random text messages of paranoia to like my family, like not feeling loved and all this stuff. And of course they would ask like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I don't remember," because again,
All
I
right.
drug like
Lots
takes
of.
you to a different place and whatever. But like you mentioned, I have almost 2 years of sobriety. So yes, February of 2021.
21, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
it was
when you were,
Valentine's.
oh, sorry. Um, okay, sorry. So what, I guess I'm curious, well, whatever you want to share.
Yeah,
What did you do in those 10 years though? Like, it's kind of like when people use the word like functioning alcoholic, or
yeah, yeah,
functioning, and then fill in the blank, right? It's
yeah,
kind of like, and sure, my experience of bipolar, it's kind of like it's not the same thing, but you learn how to just deal with what you have. So it's like, were you able to like have a job and just kind of, was it more like
yeah.
duplicity where you felt like two different people all the time? Like what was that How did you
Yeah.
manage to sort of,
Yeah.
get
Well,
on the high and then still be frank in all these different kind of situations,
right. Well, in that 10 years of being at, so I was, so yes, I was able to function. I was able to hold jobs, but as the addiction got deeper or the years went on, then it took a toll on me not wanting to show up to work, and then affecting my jobs later on. But I was in a relationship half of the time, from 2010 to 2014, so 4 years, and that relationship, um, I I want to say maybe they had a clue, but it was never ever exposed or was never brought to my attention. And again, I would like buy so much to where like it would last me like a week and a half, and then I would probably be off a week and a half, and then I would buy more, and then like be high for a week and a half. So
Okay.
like so I
Wasn't
guess
every
like
day. Wasn't every day, but
well, like not every day, but like so it was on and off, but like
right.
but it was very consistent.
Got it.
But once the breakup happened, and because it was a domestic violence experience,
Okay.
I felt I kind of was definitely broken in that relationship, and I came back to California and came home, and then that's when I went like literally I went on a spiral. Like I probably weighed like two 230 pounds, and within that next 6 months I was weighing like 175, 180.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
like I was definitely just like not caring of the intake, and I think that's when it was really bad, and it got really bad, and then that's when I had shared before, um my family and I, they kind of confronted me about it, and I obviously denied it, because that's what you do when you're an addict, you
Yeah,
deny it.
like an intervention or attempt at
Well,
an
it wasn't
intervention kind
necessarily
of.
an intervention, but there was some, again, growing up with some harsh words. I really felt like at that time, and of course, I would like it to be a sweet story, like, "Hey, Frank, we really see that you're going down the path, and we love you." But it wasn't like that. It was like, "Get your life right, or else you're going to lose your job, and you're going to do this."
Yeah,
And so, and it came off very like harsh to
harsh,
me,
right.
as from like my number one person, which was my mom. And so I basically at that time I just like I let her have it. I said some words myself, and I said "f off," and we had not talked for like 3 years.
Okay.
And that was in 2016. So then when COVID happened, she reached out to me, and of course I was still in my on and off with my drug use. But she had called to apologize, of course, like, and just try to like make amends. So when I moved back here in August of 2020, um, there was a couple months of really just trying to, I guess, figure out what I was gonna do, but
Hmm.
still kind of, having, um, days that I was on drugs and stuff, and it was, we were trying to mend our relationship, but then it was still affecting me.
Right.
So, like I was gonna say, in February of 2021, which was Valentine's Day, I
Right.
looked my I literally looked at myself in the mirror and had to say, like, what are you doing? Like, you
Yeah.
know, you have the second chance with your family. You have a second chance. I went back to church in January of 2021 with Christ, and you have people that love and accept you. And I really just had to make the choice for myself. And that's when, you know, the recovery started to happen,
Right.
but of course I get emotional because like I really had ruined relationships. I feel if I was sober in my relationship, I'm not sure if I would have if he
Yeah.
would like if he would have hit me, or I'm sure if I wasn't on the path of destruction, I probably not would have end my 10-year career because of the choices I made, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yes, I was able to have jobs, but I never held them down for a long time at that moment.
Right.
So yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving some more detail. And I love it's just interesting to me, I guess, because it's like how we kind of operate as people. It's like, um, and what I've talked about when it's been mental health related, which is a little bit different with addiction, is like, sure, our instinct is to hide things, right, when we're struggling. And it's like, look, if someone's like depressed or anxious, um, or suicidal, you don't always, see that. but my guess is kind of with like a drug addiction like yours, um, you could kind of you not catch everything, but you could
Oh
see
yeah.
that someone's high, but not always, right? Because you're saying you still were able to,
Right.
do a
Well,
week and a
because I've
half, and then
always
do it a
been
week
known
and
for my high energy and for my, and so forth. So I basically it kind of like was disturbed, but like I mean, the people that knew me well, like my family, I mean, because of their past and so forth, like they can see it, or at least they can tell when I was on a different mindset, or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You know what? I've never asked you this, and again, my experiences are more the mental health
yeah.
thing, although alcohol's kind of been a problem for me too. But like, it's kind of like when people with bipolar, right? The word manic, you know what that means. It's like the high and like the racing thoughts, and sometimes for some people, that's a positive thing. They're like, oh, I'm getting a lot done, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm kind of the life of the party, and I'm chatty, and then what happens is if they get medication, usually that um they're not like that all the time. So it's kind of like it's fun to sort of be kind of high, like,
Yeah, of
and
course.
so is there parts of you now that you've been sober for a while? Do you ever like miss the drug energy? If that's the right way
Um,
to say it, you
that's a
know?
good question, Jared. I mean, I think for because I think those last 10 years, like I've always tried to like sober up or try to like not use, but I did it on my own will, and it was and then of course then I would go back to when it was available. But I really feel like this time around, because I chose to do things differently and take a different path and get help. I mean, I
Mhm.
literally called Nathan Aber, my pastor,
Yeah,
on Valentine's Day and said, dude, like, I really need some help. And then that's when he led me to Kevin Smith, which is our,
yeah,
you know, um,
Montanix.
Celebrate Life Recovery men's leaders. So, and then I just basically dived into that. So I kind of and then and said no to the rest of the stuff. But I
Yeah,
think at the beginning, what was hard was the fact that I was still having dreams. Like I was having dreams that I was using drugs, and I want to say like those dreams still come and go. Like I wake up, I'm like, oh, thank God that was a dream. I didn't relapse. But like that's why I took other steps like doing a daily devotional, so that I and plugging in with people like yourself and Jacob, like, and just being accountable to like my
yeah,
walk
yeah,
and like what I do. I mean, but that's part of recovery, just having people around you that you can feel safe with, and I think that's what's different,
hmm,
what like from before to now, like that. So no, I mean, and like sometimes there's days, and I give all of the praise to God, like, or just to like the journey of recovery is like I sometimes I forget that was my past,
hmm,
or like, because
yeah,
it's not like, thank God now. I mean, and again, I never ever share this like without boasting, but it hasn't been an issue for me to want to use, because it's not even for me, it's not negotiable anymore. Like it's not even, I would never
yeah,
ever consider it, because I don't want it in my life because of the experience that I've had this last 2 years.
yeah,
Like there's been such a change and such I guess even healing in my family life. Like I'm so much closer to my mom and my aunt, my sister, my stepdad, and everybody else. Like because genuinely, like we can have a real relationship and talk it out and really just work that out. And
hmm,
and I and I feel like that's kind of why it's worth being sober. Not if it's not for yourself. If you feel you're like I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, well, maybe that relationship with your mom or your dad or whatever is worth it to fight for it, and not to not to use.
yeah. No, it's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm super inspired by you all the time because I know you've had a lot of, and just so for everyone listening, we're part of Humanity Church,
Woo, woo,
Pastor
Pomona.
Nathan and Marla Neighbor, and we have multiple community groups. We call them humanity groups, and one of the groups is specific to recovery. We use the book Celebrate Recovery, which came from Saddleback Church, Rick Warren, who John Baker. We call it Celebrate Life because we want to cast a wider net. I would say.
Yeah.
And Kevin's been on the podcast. Chris Herrera has been on the podcast. I think those are the only two Monday night people. But so we're continuing to do it. I've been coming for like 3 years. You've been coming for almost 2 years, and
Actual years, yeah.
yeah, right. Or if you came, and same with Jake. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. That's how we know each other. But yeah, it's interesting to me because I think like if you don't understand, addiction is so incredibly complicated in terms of the physiological. So it's just amazing to me that because I've heard you share before many times where it's like you have a lot of rough you've had like rough Mondays or like kind of a rough week, and for all those years you defaulted to just giving in to the
Right.
to doing the math, and then now you're like, well, what do I do when I feel frustrated or anxious,
Right.
which is really what the struggle is for
Yeah.
all of us as people. It's like, do we want to live a life where we don't like the reality that we're living in, right? Like even as Christians, right? It's like we can. I'm not saying everyone feels that way. I'm saying that's the temptation to feel that way a lot. So it's like, well, what is life like now? Are you more in touch? Like you said, you're repairing um, your relationships, but do you feel like you're more in touch with that thing that's like, oh, I feel pain right now? Because I relate to the abusive childhood,
Yeah.
verbal, the yelling. I
Yeah.
relate to that, and I'm still coming back to that. So
Yeah.
anyway, and
I
especially
think,
since we did Awaken too, I'm like still coming back to, like, wow, what the heck? These voices are loud
yeah.
in my head, So, but like, what is it like
Yeah.
being sober and dealing with life for the
Right.
last 2 years?
Well, we call those triggers, right? The things that
Yeah,
trigger us. What I've identified were my main triggers is like when I feel like life is too much to handle on my own, like
right.
when the pressure's on, or when I've got laid off from a job and I'm looking for another job and there's no other work and I just can't seem to get that, and or because of I'm applying for a job and I know that I'm qualified, but because of my past and because of what what the law records say of my DUI and all these other things I've had in the past, like really, when I felt when I had felt overwhelmed with that, that's when I feel like I needed to medicate or to use and stuff like that. But what I've done now, because I mean those pressures are still part of life and they still happen, and I have shared before with like on Monday nights with our small group or even with you and Jacob, is that just talking it out, and I didn't like knowing, like it's easier for me to share now because I know what it is, like or I'm able to just get on the call. I have a morning call with our friend Carlos
Yeah,
every morning, and I feel like that just eases my mind. But meditation, prayer, like all that, like really just helps my grounding, and I have to
yeah,
ground myself every day. In recovery, they one of the first chapters in this book that we go through, right, is giving up control, to a higher power, and that's what I
right.
believe I need to do. And I really feel like those are the days that I succeed the most, is when I know that I'm not in control. My higher power, Jesus is, so.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But just, I guess, just be more self-aware, of knowing, like when it's an emotional day. I mean, yes, I now go to a solid cupcake or a donut or something like that, or even pasta. But
Yeah, I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm doing that all the time too, guys.
but
Donut
I mean,
man in the middle of the night. That's
yeah. But I rather it. I mean, and so, but the self-awareness and the things that really trigger me. One of the things I chose to do last year in December was to also, I gave up my addiction to drugs because that was the one thing that was killing me, and it was the one conviction in my soul that told me, like, this needs to stop. But
Right.
socially, I was still drinking alcohol and like having a drink here and there with my family or friends or whatever. Well, in December, well, actually more like November, someone's like came up to me while I had a drink in my hand, and they're like confused, like, "Hey, I thought you were sober," and I said, "Yeah, from drugs," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well."
Okay.
This kind of like sends a mixed message. So of course, then in my spirit or just like in my humanity, I was just like, maybe that's something I need to think about
Right.
doing
Right.
as well, because for me it's important that I hold up a good testimony to everybody or whatever. But in December, I had an opportunity to be a part of a transformational training team, and I fasted into for those 3 weeks to give up alcohol. Well, since after those 3 weeks, I just never drink again, and so now in December on the 11th will be my 1 year sobriety for alcohol.
Wow, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember when you did
But
like a 6 month chip or 3 month chip
yeah,
right before
oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've been getting a chip
Wow, it's
every
been a
every
year.
month.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's crazy.
it'll be on December 11th. But my point is
Yeah.
that right there, the alcohol is more of a I guess because it's more present, or like when I'm around people, like around like you know like
Socially. Yeah. Yeah.
your friends or whatever, they're all drinking or whatever, and sometimes like they're like, "Hey, do you want something to drink?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sober." I want to yell that, right? But of
Hmm.
course, like at the same time, it's like no one's accountable to my sobriety other than myself. So like I just have to be, "No, I'm cool, thanks." And I brought my cherry coke. My cherry coke zero is what I drink now. It's my thing. Like I literally like walk into one of my friends' givings with my 12 pack just to make sure that I don't.
Uh,
I know it's funny, but that's, I mean, like set myself up for success and be like, no, I have to
no, it's
drink.
awesome. It's funny. It's a little funny, and then but it's
It is,
awesome. Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my reality,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the things I do to
For
deal
sure.
with and try to stay, definitely, sane and sober. So
Well, yeah, I think yeah, thanks for sharing, man. And yeah, the alcohol thing too is there's layers, right? There's like um I think if you've been in church for a while, sort of the assumption over time is like um I think in scripture it's a little bit stronger language. Sometimes it's like idolatry, right? Like in the Old Testament. It's like God should really be enough for us. That's in a very like, it's kind of like break that down. What does that mean? And I do think because of our culture and at least our context of America, we have because we have money and we have freedom, and we know that there's also poverty and all these other things, but we have um, it's just there's so many things available to us that aren't good for us, right? That we just food, sugar, alcohol, cigarettes, all these things, and it can be a slippery slope sometimes. So, to quote our friend Jacob, without illusion is the definition of sobriety, right? And so uh,
yeah,
you've had plenty of days where it's tough, but
yeah,
it's interesting to me that's like kind of um, the Christian influence of like sometimes we pray for God to change sort of the desires of our heart, right? Or even the psalm like delight yourself in the Lord and he gives you kind of what you want. And you're like, well, wait, well, what if I want drugs? Or you know what I mean? What if I want something that's not from God? Like, how does that work? So it's almost
right.
like you've done like a whole 180, right? That's the half turn.
Yeah,
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 I mean your desires have shifted. You went from um so what do you feel like is a struggle now? Like now that there's no drugs and then now alcohol, like is there
yeah,
another layer that you feel like you're running into? Or and I like what you were saying too about the when you feel like life's too much. Because I know for me that's a similar thing, but it's also anytime there's rejection or feeling like failure, right? Those are triggers to go towards sort of the stuff my
yeah,
issues too, so
yeah. Um, I can't necessarily say that there is. I mean, I'm trying to like, you know, state a healthy boundaries and but I guess, when there was certain people in my family that were my triggers as well, right? Like just like certain personalities that would just kind of like, I feel like I had to like be hidden, like to like really be part in this relationship. But
Okay.
now because of, I guess, both the other party and myself, we've been really just like really just trying to be better people for each other and in Christ,
Right.
that so that I mean so um I can't really say like that there's something that is a struggle for me, other than, I mean, of course, like what a challenge has been is like just getting a consistent job, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but and that's just putting in the work. And I think that's the main thing for like success in recovery for myself. What I
Yeah.
found out is like, yes, yeah, I found a great church and I found a great group, but it's also applying everything that you learned, or that they're giving you, or the work that you need to do just to lay down the foundation. And two, like I find, like, because my heart has always been other people, like
Right.
I really, and that's I think that's what's my main drive is, like, I want to affect and help others versus be a hindrance, or
Right.
or like nothing to humanity, so like I want to be
Yeah.
able to help. So
Yeah.
that's what's keeping
That's
me.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm super proud of you, dude. I appreciate um so uh well, most people don't know what this is, but so you did Reveal and Awaken. So I guess this is like a plug for, well, I didn't do Reveal, but I could plug Awaken. So our pastors work with this organization called Gap Community. I guess it's like life coaching mixed in with like
Yeah. So they
inner
call it
transformational.
transformational training. Hmm.
Yeah, and so what was the reason for, because you did Reveal and Awaken kind of like next to each
Back
other,
to back.
which is
I did. Hmm.
what was the motivation for that? And then what do you like, obviously without giving all the details
Yeah.
away, because we that's what makes it kind of cool, is that it's cryptic and like, oh wait, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main takeaways from both of those experiences, because they're both different.
Right.
One's Reveal because I think it reveals things in your life, and then the other one's called Awaken because it awakens things that. I want to say that I was able to um, find the freedom in my voice, and one of them, and Reveal. I literally sat in a small group and I looked around and it was all ladies, me and all ladies. And then and then that's when it became like the work that weekend was because of the relationships with the ladies in my life, like
Yeah.
my mom and everybody, right? And those things were revealed, and how to be able to um be part but still stand up for, and be a voice. And then Awaken really awoken up a lot of the things that thought were like, when it came to forgiveness, like
Right.
I've forgiven the things, and I hope that the things that I've done that were forgiven as well. But it was really deep, especially when it came to my dad. Like I really felt that breakthrough really happened, and like it was like a really deep freedom of forgiveness, and a real forgiveness. And I feel like since those two, and it was September and I think like November of last year, 2021 is when I did them. And I did them back to back because they're pretty intense. I mean, it's really it's as much as you show, if you show up and you actually allow yourself to participate, you can
Right.
get a lot out of these trainings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I chose to do them back to back because of the path that my life is on, because the journey that I really feel like, having a background in church and then leaving church and then being, in a 10-year addiction and away from church and then coming back, the work that God had started back then,
Hmm.
he was like really like catching me up and wanting to get me to the place that he needs me at right now, so I can be
Hmm.
a better person and help,
Yeah.
for the,
Yeah.
like for my community and for those that need help with their addiction and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm still talking about Awaken, and it happened in January. And I mean, I think, every time I hang out with Jacob, not every, a lot of times,
Yeah.
still referencing stuff from Awake. I'm like, man, remember the thing and the give and the take. And then it's like, oh, I'm kind of glad people never really gave me. I knew about the ship exercise because
Okay.
Jacob's
Well,
wife.
that one really shook me. That one really. I
The
mean,
ship,
although
the thing about the choosing that one.
yeah,
The
choosing
ship.
life
Oh
because
yeah.
it was part of the lifeboat. I mean,
Oh right, the lifeboat. Yeah.
everybody got me basically really felt like and believed that my story, which was that I'm called here on earth to like reach out to the gay community and show them a different way, and I have a sister that has yet to come to God, and so like I really like spoke that out, and so of course out of the 50 people in the room, the 4 people that made the lifeboat, I was one of them, and so I lived, and that just spoke a lot to my
Oh wow, you were one of the people.
mhm.
Oh,
I was
I
one of
knew
the
that,
four.
or I forgot that you shared that. But
Yeah, and so obviously that solidified just that obviously I'm called to do a greater work, and so that just kind of really like gave that fire under me,
yeah.
So
Do you think? I know you like. I've never. I've been in church my whole life, so and I just had a guy in my podcast, Andy Wells, who
oh hey
this,
Andy.
this is his book. Oh, can't see it. It's called "Tried to
Oh,
Be Straight."
uh-huh.
So anyway, we did a whole episode on. I mean, I got to read the book. So, but like he like how do you deal with them? Because I know our church is obviously we love our church, right? And
Yeah.
but like, have you like how do you deal with people not really understanding kind of the homosexual thing, the gay, like you, and then sort of also kind of mixing it in with
Yeah.
religion, like, well, the Bible says, and kind of like that, that's really where it comes. People
Yeah.
just kind of say that, and then there's sort of a disconnect from like you as a person, right? Like, it's not really so much of like whether it's right or wrong. It's just sort of kind of using the scripture and then rejecting you at the same time. Like, obviously you've been at it for a while, so it's like, how do you deal with that, or like what advice do you even maybe give to other people who
Yeah.
are
I,
looking for a church, but then they know they're not confused about like their desires, you know?
yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, I could only speak of my own experience and for myself because
Right.
I think then that's where I'm going to encourage like it's between like where I feel like my peace at with God and where my acceptance is. But like I said, back in growing up from the age 15 to 28 in a church that accepted me and loved me, but then also was trying to basically say you should date girls, or and do that when that wasn't what I definitely was not attracted to or whatever. But then coming back into a church that is open to whatever whoever you are. But I guess for me, where my peace is at with God, and I chose to be celibate. I'm obviously not. I mean, I am a gay male, but that's what I identify as. But I'm not doing the things of what they would call the world. So like
Right.
just like any other like a straight person would be how to if you're single and you're dating, not to have sex out of marriage and all that stuff. Like that's where like my mindset would be. But
Right.
I've
Right.
also made I've also made up my mind that I'm not gonna go out and date and or be with anybody moving forward. And I just chose my life for the work of Christ. That's where
Okay.
I'm at. And now I have I my godmother, my Nina,
Right.
um, she also was a lesbian. I say it like that because she chose to basically when she came to Christ, she's very black and white. She believes that it's a sin and that
Right.
she so she's living a straight life now, and her and I are still able to do life together, and with my piece and with her piece. So I mean, and it's kind of how I look at it. As far as for myself, I come to my church humanity not feeling judged,
Okay.
only loved and accepted.
Right.
Um, and because and at the end of the day, obviously there's still been a work in my life, and God is still moving through me, and I feel the love and acceptance. So again, everybody can have that if that's what they want. Again, I really feel like it's really where your conviction at with Christ and what God is asking you to do as an individual,
Yeah.
because you know, for I want to say for my aunt, she just she needs to have that boundary, and this is what I feel at my, whether I'm right or wrong, this is what I'm at peace with, and I feel like I live life. Well, my life is blessed and wonderful, but I just identify as a gay male.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good balanced perspective. I think when we don't feel, or I think it goes to show like the thing. I mean, everybody wants the, love and respect and
Yeah,
acceptance and intimacy from the people around them, and church is a great place for that. And then just this whole subject is complicated, right? And it's become kind of a divisive issue. So it's
yeah.
cool to see uh look, I see you, man. You're doing the chairs every
Oh yeah,
Sunday,
I'm very involved. I mean, I'm very
Monday
involved.
nights. You help. You're like the event coordinator guy. You're very
Yeah,
involved in your
I'm very
Tuesday group.
involved, and
Yeah.
again, like I said, if I felt a certain way, like if I wasn't loved or accepted, I probably wouldn't be as involved, or even if um I wouldn't have been asked to do certain leadership roles if it wasn't okay with the way that the church loves there. And that's what I love about humanity and about the community in Pomona, because
Right.
there's that heavy presence of you know gays and so forth, and at the end of the day, it's like and I just treat people as I wanted to be treated. And again, in my younger years, 15 to 28, like yeah, it was a struggle. I was literally suppressing, and I would be in a relationship with the girl just for the cover up, but then be at the club with guys at night. I rather be real with myself, and then not having to live that life and then to hurt people. I'm not doing
Right.
that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's part of it's very big in the mental health conversation that's come up on here a lot, which is acceptance, right? Of just being accepting something that once you are accepting of it, then you can live, right? You can live. But if there's denial, that's the first step, right? In case people don't know what the first step is in recovery, right?
Oh
It's like,
yeah,
well, admitting that you're powerless, but that's acceptance, right? Just
yeah,
accept that you want to change, but you don't know how. So, I mean, now, if we would have recorded this 2 years ago, you would have just been at the beginning of the
yeah.
sober journey, which is what we're calling this, right? So, yeah,
But when I think about my server, like when I think about my server journey 2 years ago,
yeah.
I would have not imagined or pictured this today. You know,
Well,
um,
and all the times you've spoken about it, you've shared. I'll post some links to the YouTube video of we did. There's just even
uh,
the sober party, the 1 year mark.
had a big
Um,
party for my
yeah, that was
1 year.
amazing. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, Frank sober date. Oh, you said it. It was
Yeah,
Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day, gosh, it's almost been a year. Jeez.
yeah,
We did yeah, what was your thinking? You
yeah.
basically threw yourself a party. So
So we meet on Mondays, and it so
yeah.
happened that Valentine's Day fell on a Monday. So I had asked permission if I can throw a karaoke party, because I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to not only like celebrate with the people in my life, but also invite the people that may not normally come to like a church or any type of gathering and stuff. So yeah, it was when there's over 50 people there,
Yeah.
for the first karaoke, well, my karaoke party, because but we had another event that we did karaoke with CL as well, and that was very
Right.
successful.
August. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so like, and it's funny because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing anything for December 11th, which is my 1 year sobriety
Oh,
for
right.
my.
Oh, for alcohol, right.
I don't have
Yeah.
any plans to do anything. I guess like, but it's not that it's not special. It's just that there's a lot going on, and it's just
Yeah,
and I
Christmas
feel like
time. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, well, there's a lot going on that day, like for like our church
Yeah.
calendar. So, but it is what it is. I mean, I just really feel like I'm grateful for this journey, and again, like did not fathom or imagine that a year and almost 9 months later, or 10 months now, that I would have this freedom and this joy and this different way of thinking and living and
Yeah.
appreciation life, and that's where I definitely want to land with that. Is like I have a different appreciation of my life and the lives
Yeah, for
that
sure.
that are in my life, and I appreciate friends like you and people that take time just to check in and care.
Yeah,
You know?
man. Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, ditto, man. And I mean, Monday nights to me is, um, I do think you can help people get sober based on the structure, based on the steps, but the thing that is sort of the bonus that you get out of it is the brotherhood and the community and the commitment. And I look around a lot, and I was just hanging out with Kevin the other night, and I was like, man, there should be more people here. Not that it's all about numbers, but I think we all know, especially as men too, right, that um again, it's naturally harder for us to open up, and then if someone has like an addiction in there, then that's another hard thing, because we can struggle to show up every week sometimes, right, if we're not feeling great. But I never walk away going, oh man, I really regretted coming tonight.
Yeah, you tend to feel better about what's going on, and for your day, and especially like even if
Yeah.
you're not, if you're there not for yourself and you're just there for just to be present for other people. I mean, it really helps sometimes to get out of your funk.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, to be able to kind of, yeah, and yeah, serve. And okay, so last sort of
Sure.
thought here, and then we can maybe talk about some fun things. But what's not that this isn't fun, but
This is fun
just
to me. I love this. I mean,
yeah,
I
I
love
was gonna just ask you some for fun questions is what I meant.
yeah.
But so what I've experienced this with the mental health thing, where like my time with working with NAMI, I do some speaking things. I know you got to meet my friend Sally at my
I was
birthday
about to
party.
give Sally a shout out.
I
Oh, what's
know.
up,
What's up, Sally
Sally?
Sigario? We love you. Um,
Yes,
thanks for
girl.
thanks for texting Frank more than you text me. No big deal.
Girl,
Um,
okay, I got one inbox from
just
her.
kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. No, remember when you and me and Julio were doing coffee and she
Yeah,
was like
that was that
texting
one
you
time.
on? No, I'm kidding, dude. I'm kidding.
Hey, I gotta be. Yeah, what she call me? Frank does it again because I was the coordinator, was the non-coordinator of your
Well,
party.
you guys have similarities because that's totally her. She's like, I've gone to like, she did a karaoke birthday 2 years ago, and I went, yeah, it
Girl.
was like right when it was like September 2020, so kind of right in like COVID, and
Uh-huh.
no, I'm just teasing you, man. No,
Did it?
what'd you say?
Oh, she did the karaoke party. You're
Yeah,
teasing me
she
about
did a
that.
karaoke party. It wasn't like a ton of people, but it was really fun. And
Oh,
so I know
fun.
you guys have that. I know I'm like, I'll post the YouTube links to all of our karaoke recaps. So
Yeah, fun
Frank's
time.
go-to song is well,
La
wait,
Vida
Scrubs?
Loca, Ricky
Oh no,
Martin.
La Vida Loca. No,
What'd
Scrubs
you say?
was no. I said it was Scrubs. That was the one you did with your
Oh, but I
friend.
did just go to my best friend. Yeah.
Okay, I get it mixed up because I think for some reason that's your go-to one.
No,
But
it's present
I'm
and
Firework, so.
to. Yeah. There's a lot of go-tos.
Yeah, my go-to has been Firework. So, um, yeah, my experience of NAMI, one of the things they offer is family to family, which is like people who they have like a cousin, or a lot of times it's parents,
Oh yeah.
and that's always an interesting group, because it's like you're not in the addiction, but you're the role of support. So how do you kind of help that person? So, like, what advice do you give to two people, right? The person who's they're like trying to walk with someone, or maybe someone's listening who is like in their addiction and they're really struggling.
Yeah. Well, that question gets me emotional because I think I shared earlier, my mom tried, to like be there for me, but I like when I was in my addiction and I just took it the wrong way because of the words that or the way that it was presented, you know. So and then at any case, like sometimes you're not gonna hear it the way that you want to hear it, but just consider the heart, or that there's you know people that do love and care. But I guess for me, I guess I would have loved to have heard it in a different way or a different approach.
Right.
But at the
Right.
same time, I really believe like that moment had to happen in order to get to where we're at today, because I think we've both acknowledged that our relationship was broken, period, because she had expectations, I had expectations, just to set me for who I am and what I am, blah blah blah, and her not understanding, all of me. But at the end of the day, as we got older and when we re-met up in 2020, I think none of that mattered.
Mhm.
I did it really like I did like if you just lower your expectation and just be and want to work on the relationship and have, like, for me, I wanted to have my mom in my life and she wanted her son in her life.
Mhm.
um, we really just showed up in the moment versus like with our past, our expectations, our opinions
Yeah.
about each other. We just dropped all that, and I think that's what made is making it a lot that's making it work this time.
Mhm.
And again, it's work. It's, you have to put the work in, you have to walk in think, knowing that things may be said or done or brought back up, because family tends to do that, brings up your past or brings up things that might kind of like, you know just land wrong. But just don't be, for me, not being so sensitive, but
Mhm.
being aware, like if it's something that I'm still doing that's affecting our relationship, I'm going to correct and fix. But um if you're struggling out there, I just, first of all, like, don't be ashamed, not, to don't be so prideful. Try, or I'm encouraging you to reach out, to just,
Right.
because again, like I said, the one thing that once I figured out I couldn't do this alone, or I couldn't show up to church high, because that was the main reason. I had went back to humanity. I went to church in January, and then in February they had already had me scheduled to be a part of the greeting team, and I was scheduled to greet that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was scheduled to greet that day, and I was just like, I can't do this high. I can't do this under the influence. Like, this is so wrong, And that's when I had to be like, okay, I have a problem. I want to be involved. I want to be part of this. I want to change my life, So that's when I called, like I said earlier, my pastor, and it was like, I need help. I just, this is what's up, So, you know, don't be afraid um to want to change, or of the unknown, because if anything, I know for a fact, my life, like I mentioned, I was losing my mind, and
Mhm.
and and everything. My life wasn't that what was my life at the point was crap, So I'd rather be better, than where it was at. And and again, I I am so glad I made that call, and I'm so glad that I've made the change and done the work,
Mhm.
and to be where I'm at today.
Yeah,
So I
it's
encourage you
awesome.
guys to just, don't be afraid to reach out.
I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, it's the ministry of reconciliation,
Yep.
and it's also just like um following Jesus, right? He's going around and talking to addicts and lepers and prostitutes,
Yeah.
and sometimes those people turn around and they, you know, they see Jesus, and then they go and they, you know, there's not a lot of change. But other times people go out and like preach the gospel like 5 minutes after they encountered Jesus, and 2 days before that they were like, in
Yeah.
their addiction. So there's there, if we're willing to stick at it, right, there's no like probation time, like, oh, you gotta wait 5 years before you talk about the kingdom,
Yeah.
and sure, they're depending on what we're trying to do, like, sure, there's time to be prepared and there's healing, but grace is so big that like you can just turn around. And
Yeah.
so if you guys are interested in Monday nights, we'll talk to you about that. um so okay, so we already talked about your go-to karaoke song.
Well, you brought it up, but I love karaoke. I think it's fun.
What's your favorite song to dance to?
Anything Janet Jackson. So,
Okay.
as you guys know, well, I think a lot of my friends know that Janet Jackson's like my number one diva. Like,
Okay.
like that's who I go to. I mean, this tattoo right here, she has it right here. I got my nose done to look like her. Just kidding.
For those of you watching, he just made a Janet Jackson nose. So
Well, yeah, I plugged in my nose. I mean, to look like her and Michael, but I didn't get it done.
just don't stand to Justin Timberlake at the Super Bowl, okay?
Okay. Yeah, so anything Janet Jackson, but I mean, it just depends. I mean, I love a good hip hop jam. There's so many good things that I love to dance. Period. So
Yeah, I was to say you were talking about clubs before. I'm assuming you're
yeah.
not really doing that anymore, but
Oh no, I'm not.
sometimes.
No.
No,
Not that I'm opposed to it. It's just that I
You
just
dance at a party, but you wouldn't go.
Oh, I dance in my room. I dance
Yeah.
like I dance in the aisle at the liquor at the store,
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay.
grocery market. If I hear a good song, like again, it's just within my spirit. Yeah, but no, I don't go to clubs. Unfortunately, like again, like if a friend would invite me, I definitely would go. Like with obviously like mental boundaries because I'm not opposed to it. It's just
I got you. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's healthy. So what is your favorite thing to eat? And then what is your favorite thing to cook?
ooh. All right. Well,
I'm not a very good cook, so I would say shepherd's pie, and that's about it. So
you know how to make a shepherd's pie?
I have done it before, I think honestly only like once, but my mom made it for me as a kid. And
Yeah.
anyway.
I love pasta.
Okay, nice.
So I like at Old World Deli, contestant like in Covina, I go and get their masticholi. Um, that's just like my jam. Like if I'm ever like just needing a good comfort food, that's what I do. Pasta, sauce, meat, and cheese. Like, it does it for me.
I got you. You know what I like? Well, Chili's is not the best place, but if I do get Chili's, and we used to go, I was saying every
Yeah,
time I go to
they
Chili's
don't
now,
have
like
it. They don't have
forever.
the chicken pasta on the 3 for $10 anymore.
Oh, right, but that's what I get. I mean, it's like $20, so whatever. But yeah, man, the two little like garlic, toast with
Yeah,
yeah, and or well, I did cheesecake with my mom, but what did I get? I got chicken and like spaghetti or anyway. So
like chicken
you
parmesan.
yeah,
Mm.
but you like to cook, so you're like
I
so
do.
you
I enjoy it. Like I said, I was in a relationship one part of my life, so I was very domestic. Like, um, like lately, like I have this like relationship with my air fryer. So
okay.
anything I can do with my air fryer. So like for Thanksgiving, well, for my Friendsgiving, I made a herb butter air fried turkey breast. So it comes out the bomb. I mean, it was so juicy and it was so tasty.
Okay.
Um, and it
Nice.
was a hit. It was a hit. Everyone, at least they said it to my face. It was good. I mean, but I enjoyed it.
What is your favorite like time of the year or holiday?
Yeah.
Is it
Now,
this time of the year? Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Like Thanksgiving and Christmas. I just love this
Yeah.
season because I think this is like where you get to enjoy family. Like if anything, the most like because like you're drawn together. There's only 6 of us in my family that we sit around the table like Thanksgiving. It's very special now. Like to me, we just all just show up and really just
Yeah, that's
love it.
awesome.
It's so good. But yeah, I just love the weather. I love like wearing cozy sweaters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know it's good hoodie weather, sweaters. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Well, brother, I appreciate So if people want to get a hold of you, I know you're on Instagram and Facebook.
I am, and
Do you have anything else you want to?
it's Mr. Medina 78, I believe. Was my Instagram. Frank Nicholas Medina on my Facebook. 626-841. Just kidding. Is my phone number.
Whoa, hey. Show you how many people are listening if you get like 1,000 tech now.
Well, that was just my area code in the first 3.
Yeah, that's probably one of 40,000 people. So there you go. So,
but I mean, Jared knows how to get a hold of me. And again, we joke, but we actually I'm taking this seriously as far as a way to like outreach to people that may need help with anything I've spoken about, or clarification or any questions.
Yeah, and I'll put info. Yeah, and we both go to Monday nights, and if you guys want to know more information about that, it's a great place for us to. Pretty much, we meet every week. I mean, except for possibly maybe not the day after Christmas. We'll see, maybe. But I don't know. Well, because Kevin said he's going to be gone.
But, well, we'll be there. I appreciate you, Jared. Thank you.
Okay, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Frank, for being on the podcast. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. That information will be in the notes. And also the video version of this is on my YouTube channel, and I'll use that link to post on Facebook, so you can check out the video version as well. And as always, thank you guys for supporting the podcast, for listening. In the end of show notes, there's a link for you to leave a review on Apple, and then any other information that came up in this convo. And as always, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.